Hello, Congresswoman Kim.
Yes, how are you doing, Ken? I'm having a little bit of a technical challenge all morning, but good to talk to you.
First of all, Japanese Prime Minister will give an address at the joint meeting of the U.S. Congress on April 11th next week. It's been 9 years, actually, since the last time Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe addressed a joint meeting of Congress in 2015.
Yeah.
So what is the meaning of this Japanese Prime Minister Kishida's address at this time? What kind of message does it send to the world, the Japanese Prime Minister making an address to Congress this time?
Sure. So as you know, I supported his visit by sending a joint letter from our Foreign Affairs Committee. The four corners, they say, Chairman McCall, Ranking Member Mix, myself, and Ranking Member of the Indo-Pacific, Ibera. We sent a joint letter to Speaker Johnson to officially extend the invitation to Prime Minister Kishida, and I'm glad this came through. And I met Prime Minister when I was in Tokyo just a year ago. At that time, we talked about maybe him visiting the United States, and this is really coming to fruition. So I'm really happy about that. During our previous meetings and conversations, I extended the appreciation to Prime Minister Kishida for his leadership in the Indo-Pacific and beyond, such as not only doing the bilateral relationship with South Korea and Japan, but with the help of the United States when President Biden invited both leaders of South Korea and Japan for a trilateral summit. I think that really kickstarted the strong trilateral relationship we desperately needed. I also extended the invitation to Prime Minister Kishida for his help or the country's help with Ukraine. Japan, as you know, has sent non-lethal support and is also leading in reconstruction talks, also sending ships to Red Sea to support mission against Houthis. So these are some of the things I believe are very important contributing factors to making sure that Prime Minister's visit in the United States includes joint sessions of Congress and his talk there. And this visit shows that our alliance is very unified. It's strong, it's deterring. And our alliance in coordination with each other and with other allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific region is critically important. So I really look forward to hearing his address and the outcome of that trip.
Thank you. So as you mentioned, since 2015, there are lots of things happen in the world. We have seen Russian invasion to Ukraine, and also growing Chinese coercive activities in the Indo-Pacific region.
Okay.
How do you see this change of the global situation? How do you think the alliance between the United States and Japan should play a role in the current global environment?
As you mentioned, the global landscape since the last time he was here has changed dramatically. The global landscape is in recent years changed with Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. And as you also mentioned, growing aggression from the Chinese Communist Party and North Korea also. So I'm very concerned by China's military threats against Taiwan, Japan in this East China Sea, as CCP seeks to control all of the Indo-Pacific area. So in that current environment, we need strong defense ties between the United States and Japan. We need forces in Japan for any conflict in the region. Something that we talked about last year when we met with Prime Minister in Japan, asked him about the potential Taiwan contingency, and we asked if Japan would stand with the United States. And we were told that, yes, depending on the US leadership, Japan is a reliable partner. So we hope that that will come through. That's why I say we need forces in Japan for any conflict in the region. We also need strong technology ties between US and Japan. I have held hearings on technology cooperation in my Indo-Pacific subcommittee, because I know Japan is very capable and they're very serious about tech security. So I hope we can find ways to reduce barriers to tech cooperation, particularly in AI, quantum, and semiconductors area too. So as adversaries undermine the rules-based international order, our alliances are even more important to deter aggression and promote peace through strength.
As we all know that right now, the trilateral relationship between US, Japan, and South Korea is very robust. But next week, we're going to see something a little bit new. The US, Japan, and the Philippines will have the first Trilateral Summit in Washington, D.C. What is the message of this Trilateral Summit, especially to the PLC?
Well, I think that's going to send a strong message because, you know what, let me first tell you, I also went to Southeast Asia. Last summer, I went to, and I actually did the South China Sea trip. And then most recently, early this year, I took another delegation to Southeast Asia. So I've been to the region twice. And we felt the pressure that our allies and partners feel in that region from CCP. It's real and it's immense. And in the Philippines, I flew over the South China Sea and saw firsthand how the Chinese Coast Guard is harassing Philippines military vessels and the fishermen. We were also radioed in from Chinese Coast Guard telling our Americans who are flying over that we don't have a right to be there because we're flying over their territory. And we were telling them we're also conducting our freedom of navigation and we do have a right to be there. So you can see the Chinese Coast Guard has gone as far as using lasers to blind Filipino sailors. And they're also using water cannons to try and drive Filipino ships out of their own waters. I mean, this is the water that Philippines also belong to. Right. So the Philippines, as you know, it's unlike other South Asian countries. The United States has a mutual defense treaty with the Philippines. So we cannot tolerate this aggression towards our friends and allies. So we were there to assure our allies like the Philippines, when Philippines is attacked underwater like they were, then we're there to show our support. So I'm glad we're showing up for our Indo-Pacific allies and partners. And I look forward to the readout from the summit, especially the US, Japan, and Philippines summit that you talked about.
Okay. You already kind of touched upon what I'm going to ask you from now on, but do you think Japan is playing enough of role to maintain peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region? What is the expectation of the leaders in the Congress, like yourself, towards Japan in maintaining the current international order and the U.S. leadership with the rise of PLC?
Sure. Japan has already stepped up to increase its defense budget and support for Taiwan and Philippines too. Last year, Prime Minister Kishida has told us that Japan has already increased its defense budget to 2% of the GDP. That's huge. So Japan is also participating more in multilateral security engagements, for which we're very appreciative. So during the visit, when President Biden and Prime Minister Kishida, when they talk about joint defense equipment development, and that's what I'm hearing from the press reports too. So to that end, I think they are really stepping up. Japan signaled a deal with the United States or they signed the deal actually. They going to purchase up to 400 Tomahawk missiles. Right. Previously, Japan had no long-distance strike capability. So this demonstrates Japan's commitment to protecting the Indo-Pacific. So you ask about the expectation in Congress, perhaps maybe more on economic issues. The US, Japan have been good about coordinating aid and assistance to the Pacific Islands. But we need more of that throughout Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. I've been very vocal about providing the support as we were negotiating the COFA agreement, which concluded. I'm really glad about that too. So last year, I think just before the Trilateral Summit, I hosted the Japanese and South Korean ambassadors to discuss PRC's economic cohesion and ways that we can work together to build resiliency. For example, early warning information sharing. So I think that's an area that we would like to see more of. And so it is really clear that we need more trade deals with our Asian partners because China is moving in.
Right.
And without an alternative, Asian countries will be forced to take the risk of doing business with CCP. And our allies and partners, as I travel around to the Indo-Pacific region, they tell us they want to do more trade with the United States. But we need to show up and we need to present them with better alternatives so that they can take the supply chain out of CCP and do more with the United States. So it is really important that we show up, stay engaged in the key meetings and engagements that's going on.
True. So lastly, could you help understand Japanese leaders about the Congress? So in Japan, people have concerns about deep division within the United States. And many Japanese policymakers are worried about the partisanship of the US Congress getting deep and harsher. What is your message to Japanese people? What is your message to those policymakers?
I want to tell people who are listening or watching or reading this, democracy is messy and it's by design. But when it comes to protecting our national security and supporting our Indo-Pacific partners, we are united. Look, as chairwoman of the Indo-Pacific Subcommittee, I participate, join another congressional delegation, or lead my bipartisan congressional delegation to the region. And I have done that, as I mentioned, on 2 separate occasions. And I've joined a couple others with the Chairman McCall. And on those trips, we may travel as a Republican and Democrat, but we travel as one voice, as a United States representatives. So we don't conduct meetings presenting our Republican views versus Democratic views. We present the United States views as Americans. So I believe that we can strengthen our partnership and engage more with our allies and partners, not less. And again, it is really important for anyone who is listening or watching this or reading your media, that we are united, especially when we travel overseas. To anyone who's watching, we leave our politics at water's edge. And we go there, meet with our allies and partners to show the unity that United States stands together as Republicans and the Democrats to make sure that we project strength so our allies can trust us and make sure that our adversaries can fear us.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Congresswoman.
All right.